Hello everyone, my name is Isabel Meywirth and today I will tell you about our paper, Can You Tell That I'm Confused? An Overhearer Study for German Backchannels by an Embodied Agent. In our study, we analyzed humans' perception of certain types of listener feedback that were performed by the virtual agent Furhat. Our motivation to conduct the study was for one that in human conversation, listeners are constantly giving feedback, and that feedback portrays the listener's internal state through nonverbal behavior. And those internal states can portray emotional states, but also other states, for example, what we focused on, grounding states. So we were asking ourselves, does the same listener feedback that works in human-human interaction also work in human-robot interaction if performed by a robot or a virtual agent? And to investigate this, we measured the perception of different basic backchannels that portray the virtual agent's grounding state. So we decided on 3 different conditions of backchannels, and we derived those 3 conditions through basic grounding acts. So we have one positive condition, which represents the acknowledgement act. We have one negative condition, which represents the request for repair act, and one neutral condition, which is just the baseline in which the agent is just in idle mode. For the acknowledgement condition, we decided on 4 different types of backchannels to analyze: the single nodding, repetitive nodding, raising eyebrows, and the verbal backchannel OK. And from those 4 backchannels, we created 3 different combinations. We combined repetitive nodding with OK, single nodding with OK, and single nodding with eyebrow raising. And for the request for repair condition, we also had 4 different types of backchannels: frowning, tilt, eyebrow raise, and the verbal backchannel. Thus, the verbal backchannels were not the perfect choices, but we did have some technical limitations with our voice that we were using, and the voice could only express lexical terms, so we could not use backchannels like or yeah. So it was not the best choice, but that's what we had to work with. And was is the German what. And we again had 3 different backchannel combinations. So eyebrow raise with the verbal backchannel, frown and tilt. Again, frown and tilt with the verbal backchannel. So that is what the video items look like. And we also created a voice recording by a male adult that was asked to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic. And then we took snippets of this voice recording and we inserted the backchannels that we implemented for the Furhat agent at individually chosen backchannel relevant spaces. You can also find all the material we used in our GitHub repository that is linked at the corner. And yeah, so we chose 4 different voice recording snippets to use, and we combined those with the 7 backchannel combinations that I just showed. And that created a total of 28 video items. It's also to note that the robot agent was positioned in an angled position, so this would imitate the agent to gaze at the speaker that is not actually there, and that should create more of an overhearer perspective. I also brought an example of a video item.
Dann war überall Maskenpflicht zuerst. Konnte man normale Masken nehmen aus Stoff. Dann musste man aber auf diese medizinischen oder FFP2-Masken gehen. Die waren anfangs auch noch alle sehr teuer.
We used the Psy Toolkit survey platform to collect our data, and participants could rewatch the video as often as they wanted to, and they had as much time as they wanted to answer the question. And we used the closed question format where the closed question was also in German, but these are just rough translations. So there were 4 different answer options. One is that also we named the Furhat robot Bodo. We wanted to give him a name. But yeah, so Bodo seems to understand. He wants the speaker to continue. Bodo seems confused. He needs another explanation. Bodo seems unattentive / absent. And Bodo seems disinterested. He wants to end the conversation. The baseline condition does not have a right or an ideal answer, but we did expect the baseline to be interpreted as unattentive. So to our results, we had 64 participants, but we only considered 62 of them because of technical issues for 2 cases. So they did not complete the survey. And 45 were female, 20 were male, and 1 non-binary. The age was between 19 and 59 years, and the average age was about 26 years. And the participants were recruited through a university platform called Zona. They got course credit as a reward, and they were also a convenient sample as part of my bachelor thesis. And these are the results. So you can see in the left column, those are the numbers of the different settings. And then you can also see the condition of the setting. So the first 3 are the positive condition, the other 3 negative, and the 7th setting is the baseline condition. And then there are also the different backchannels for each setting again written there. And then you see the distribution and the counts in brackets for each answer option. And it's pretty easy to spot that the positive condition was mostly interpreted as understanding. The negative condition was mostly interpreted as confusion, and the neutral condition mostly as unattentive. So the majority of interpretations was always for the ideal interpretation. And this is also very visible in the plots here, where you can see it for each audio snippet. The negative condition, so 4 to 6, they were misinterpreted quite often. So they have a lower accuracy than the understanding condition. You can also see that the baseline condition has quite a lot of interpretations as understanding, not just unattentive. And depending on the audio recording, there were also quite a lot of, especially for audio 2, quite a lot of interpretations for the understanding condition as unattentive. So to summarize the results, the conditions have generally the highest count for the intended grounding state or grounding act. And there are lower accuracies for the confusion condition, but higher accuracies for the understanding condition. The 4th option of the closed question had very low counts for any setting or audio, which was expected. Also, I forgot to mention that the closed question answers, they were always in random order. And the highest accuracy was for setting 3. Now to discuss. So it seems that the participants tend to interpret the nonverbal behavior rather as positive than negative, since if there are misinterpretations, it was mostly as understanding. And we have the theory that the false interpretations as positive for the confusion condition might be because they were interpreted as assessments. And assessments, they're a type of acknowledgement act presented by Clark and Brannon, that value comprehended information. An example for that is a surprised reaction like, wow. And that could also be the case for the global backchannel bus, could be like a surprised bus or what. So that might be a theory. There's an open question whether the misinterpretations as positive are due to the quality of the implementation, since we had some technical limitations, or whether it is due to positive feedback generally being less ambiguous than negative feedback. The neutral condition was surprisingly interpreted as understanding in 26% of the times. So that implies two things: that the absence of negative feedback in agents will be interpreted as understanding, and also that there seems to be a need for explicit positive evidence of understanding. So even though there was no reaction, it was quite often interpreted as understanding, but it also shows that people expect some kind of reaction to show positive evidence, which there is a critique point that I will get into now by responding to the reviewers' comments. So one reviewer mentioned that an issue is that the participants can think about how they interpret the robot behavior, so it does not represent understanding in real time or real world conversation, which is true, and especially the assumption that positive evidence is needed for understanding cannot be like concluded from this data, since participants had like they were expecting reactions, they were asked to interpret reactions, so of course they were expecting reaction to show a one of the states that they could choose. So that is a very good comment. And the reviewer also suggested to conduct a future study in which a participant group A would interact with the robot directly, and then there would be a participant group B that would interpret the interaction of the other participant group with the robot. Another reviewer was asking why we chose the function disinterest, why it was included in the closed question, which is also a very good question. And looking back, I would not include it again. The thought behind this was that the disinterest option represents another grounding act, the cancel act. So that's also why we said that Furhat seems disinterested. He wants to end the conversation. So this was representing a third grounding act, the cancel act. And we were also thinking of having it to add more complexity to the closed question. But since it was very rarely chosen, yeah, I would not include it again. But it also shows that only the options that were relevant were actually chosen. And then the reviewer also asked how the backchannel placement worked. And it was also not the best system. We only chose it like intuitively. We looked at research on backchannel relevant spaces. According to those results, we just intuitively chose when it would be a good place to place a backchannel. But yeah, would also be good to have a better system for that. So our conclusion is that backchannels from human-human interaction can and will be recognized as intended in the majority of the cases by the Furhat robot, even with our technical limitations and some maybe not super great design choices. The results show that they are recognized mostly. There is definitely a lot of room for improvement of the backchannel choice and design, and also how to place them. And we concluded, very similar to other studies, that it is worth conducting pre-experiments that verify the backchannel design and also the quality of the audio stimuli or video stimuli you use for the experiment, or to have a comparative condition like a visit of offsetting, which was already done by Eno et al. Thank you for listening, and please ask me any questions you have.